Travis Wayne Goodsell, back with another video. How Mormon brainwashing works. I've talked about dichotomous and non-dichotomous in my other videos lately, and you may be kind of confused still as to how it specifically works. Dichotomous and non-dichotomous. The dichotomous is just two categorizations. It's this or the other, quid for quid. It's my way or the highway. Those types of things. Democrat versus Republican, liberal versus conservative, populist versus globalist. That's the new terms for them, if you didn't know. It was all Steve Bannon and his Cambridge Analytica. And so that's dichotomy. Non-dichotomous is spectrum, which if you know what a spectrum is, it's multiple options to choose from within a category. And so for liberals, you have the left, center, and right on both. And sometimes they'll even generalize it for the government or non-government dichotomic category of liberal, moderate, and conservative spectrum. And so in psychiatry or psychology, people get diagnosed with mental illnesses, and the dichotomous is it's technically, do you have one or don't you? But they want to have job security, so they say everybody has some form and at some degree of mental illness in order to justify having everyone as a client, and thus everyone gets to pay them. Oh, they're so great. When a corporation or business or person makes money by the number of clients, it's already corrupt. You can't trust them. And that's part of the weakness of our economy. But for example, in psychology, well, psychiatrists are the ones who prescribe drugs, and they drug people for having a mental illness. They claim there's no cure for mental illness. The reason why they can't claim there's a cure is because they aren't actual medical doctors. They don't do the hard science measurements to identify a cause. That should show red flags for everyone, because there's no such thing as a mental illness. They're not even bothering to look for one, and are already categorizing people in these mental illness boxes, Borg ship boxes, if you're watching Picard. And so what they're doing is drugging people according to the behavioral manifestations of the people that they're categorizing. And they're drugging people. It's legalized drugging. And so when these people get drugged, they become addicted to the drug. It's a psychotropic drug. And over time, the patients often resist, because they were forced into the system against their will. So they want to get off the drugs. They want their life. They want their liberty. They want a living. And the doctors constantly pressure them and convince society to also pressure the people who are victims to say, hey, you've got a mental illness, you need the drugs. You've got a mental illness, you need the drugs. And they're, no! Oh, see? You're mentally ill. That's what mentally ill people do. Huh. And so they constantly drug them. And oftentimes they multiple drug them. And so people get addicted right quick, right easy, so that when they get the opportunity, when they're finally tested to see if they can go back into society, they go off their drugs. And sure enough, they go through withdrawal symptoms. And because they go through withdrawal symptoms, they freak out, depending on what types of drugs they've been on and how it affects their brain chemistry. And so the doctors therefore say, see, you've got a mental illness, you're freaking out. They don't bother to tell them, these are withdrawal symptoms from going off your meds. We need to detox you. And the longer the drugging occurs, the longer the period of withdrawal symptoms for detoxation. And people are put back onto drugs because the doctors have power over them, but also because they're able to convince the person, see, you have a mental illness. They keep bombarding them. We've placed you in a category, and now we're constantly reinforcing within you that we are right about the category we placed you in. And everything that's done to the person, the drugs that are used, are based on the non-dichotomous category that they place them in. So that's how it works in psychiatry. How it works with government, that's simple and easy. We see it everywhere in our society as it's an election year and we have Trump. We have one party versus the other party. And those are the dichotomous boxes. We do have progressives in the Democrat Party that are trying to emerge, and there's warring going on between progressives and the established Democrats. And you have those categories established, and then we've added news for the categories. So if you're a Republican, you have Fox News and AON. If you're a Democrat, you have the MSNBC, Washington Post, New York Times. And Trump tries to throw people in who speak negatively about him into the Democrat Party press to categorize them. That's how it works, is that both sides, you're a Dem snowflake, you're a fascist Trumpite. And then the name calling goes back and forth. Just like in psychiatry, oh, you're a mental retard. That's the name calling that goes on, that people are trying to stop, but that's what happens. You get labeled. The labeling is a big thing in this brainwashing categorization process. And so Republicans call Dems names, and they accuse Dems of being Dems and not being Republicans, and vice versa for Dems against Republicans. You guys are horrible because you're Republican. Your plan is horrible because it's Republican. Nobody steps out of the box to say, wait a minute, no, it's not a good idea to lock babies in cages away from their nursing mothers. Nobody sees that. Frustrating, but that's the brainwashing attack that we are under in government. And so now we get to church. We're obviously focusing on Mormonism and how Mormons are brainwashed and how they fall into that categorization box trap. The dichotomous categorization, easy and obvious. You're either more pro-Mormon or you're anti-Mormon. And so Mormons who stick to that dichotomous category refuse to listen to any news, any person, that any book, any audio, anything that speaks against the church. And it's not against necessarily, but that's the labeling they make it. We are Mormon. Anything that speaks negatively about us is therefore anti, and we will not listen to it. That's the and it's wrong, because they created a box that the church leaders made for them, and kept telling them over and over, you are the faithful Mormons, you are the chosen ones, you are the royal generation, you're the royal army of God. All those labels help reinforce the Mormon category box. And the non-dichotomous are where Mormons create levels of activity. You're a faithful Mormon, you're a rock, you're less active, but they still categorize everybody as Mormon. You're just varying levels of Mormon. Everybody's Mormon. It's just a varying degree spectrum of where you are in Mormonism. Yeah. So the same features work in all areas of our life, and it's very damaging, very destructive, and very wrong. It's not scientifically based. Oh, but Travis, it's clinically proven. Like all the commercials. Our product is clinically proven. Part of a balanced nutritional breakfast. All of those are scams. They're deceptive manner of speech to keep people in their boxes. So when Cambridge Analytica came to Facebook and then sold our data to Russia, that's what they used, was the categorization box method. Which Disney princess are you? A spectrum of Disney princesses with a spectrum of answers to identify your category. Back when I was a kid, they had the color behaviors. Which color are you? They've modified it, changing the colors. But I fluctuated between blue and white depending on how I answered the questions. But they're all opinion-based, based on my feelings, my opinions about things. It has nothing to do with a hard science-based measurement. And that's the weakness of it. That's where it fails to meet the standard for science. It's all fraud, because they purposely ask questions for your opinions and your feelings rather than hard measurements. And they can manipulate your opinions and your feelings with these box categories. They're manipulating Mormons. They're manipulating party groups. They're manipulating those who are mentally ill. Every facet of our society is based upon this. And facts are replaced with opinions and feelings. You'll hear the news, even those libtards, name calling, as they say, Senator, how do you feel about this statement from the Washington Post? You catch that? How do you feel? What is your opinion? What is your reaction? See, all designed to keep the brainwashing symptom going. It's those code words. The Manchurian Candidate, for example, was brainwashed and got triggered into action with a code word, and that's what got him. So the bomber for Trump, who went and put bombs at all of Trump's enemies' houses and threatened the life of Poppy Harlow. Shame on you. Leave Poppy alone. He was triggered. He got so much into his brain as he went from rally to Trump rally to Trump rally that it finally triggered in him to act on it and defend Trump with the bombing. And that's what's going on with the impeachment trial, is the defense are trying to trigger the Americans who support Trump into action to defend Trump with all the feelings and emotional manipulation. And Democrats likewise are going, we're presenting facts, these are evidence. Trump confessed. And so in this particular case, the opposite party is trying to do the right thing, but if they were the dominant party, then they have... You've seen the videos of the past when Nadler used to speak about the Clinton impeachment or whatever clips they go from the past versus the present, and it works the same way for Republicans. In the past, they were saying things contrary to what they're saying now. It's all based upon the categories. Our category is the one true category, and anything else is wrong. And thus the church. Our church is the only true church, and everyone else is wrong. That's not entirely correct. First of all, the corporation running it is not the religion. The organization is separate than the religion. Mormons can't separate the two because the church has purposely brainwashed them into thinking they're one and the same. And their arguments in court reflect that. We're a religion, Your Honor. We're protected by the First Amendment to commit any crime we want. The First Amendment gives us the right to do whatever we want. Like Trump. Article 2 gives me permission to do whatever I want. No, it doesn't. You can't commit crime. It's that simple. But they purposely use that as a brainwashing technique to defend the category. And that's how brainwashing works. It's very simple, and all of you have been exposed to it, whether you recognize it or not. And hopefully now you've recognized it, so that you can go into any situation in your life, whether it be going to a religion, whether it be going into politics to vote this year, or if your social society, you get a school attack and psychiatrists come in to drug the teenagers and then tell the teenagers to just get over it. That's what they're doing. The teenagers are pissed. They want action from their government leaders to protect them. And psychiatrists come in to say, hey, get over it. Literally. You need to process your emotions and not lash out against the government. The government is not to blame. These are not the droids you're looking for. That's what they're doing. I want Baby Yoda back. I want to buy the toy. I don't want to wait till May.